Douglas Murray's book, The War on the West, he's got this wonderful passage where he says you can stand in front of a painting and you can look at it and you can say, this peculiar blue pigment, was that sourced from some country that was in poverty? Was the apprentice who stretched the canvas paid? Are the fibers, did they get, so you can, in other words, you can, to use this isn't quite the right word, like deconstruct.
Yeah.
But in other words,
close enough.
Yeah, you can, and what I realized in reading that passage is there's no end to it. I mean, I could look and say, no, you're wearing this suit, Dr. Peterson. It doesn't, anything can be taken apart this way. Or, Douglas
And blood
Murray.
soaks everything.
Yes.
Right. So if you look enough, you'll find a problem.
You'll find a problem. Or, Douglas Murray says, you can rejoice in the picture that Raphael has painted of the Virgin ascending to heaven. And what I realized in thinking about that is, here's the really fundamental premise, or the like, what distinguishes these two approaches? And I think it is the view that the world is good or not. In other words, if you start from that and say there's goodness here, then you're going to look for the goodness, and there's beauty and there's truth. You're going to look for that.
And you may also find it.
And you may find it. And if you don't, then everything follows from that. And I've been thinking about this a lot.
Yeah, it'd be pretty weird. Pretty weird if it turned out that the world was constituted so that you find what you're looking for. Seriously, like that. And I kind of think there's some truth in that.
Well, yes, indeed. And if you're not looking for it, you're not going to find it. But to me, then this becomes, maybe it's a psychological question. Because if that's the fundamental question, right? You've got these folks over here who want to burn down and destroy and wreck and repudiate. And these folks over here who want to build and want to solve and want to progress and want to repair. And if the difference between them is that fundamental premise, the world is good,
what Marx's favorite
the world
quote
is bad.
was?
What?
It was from Goethe, and it's a very specific quote. I knew this quote before I found this out, because I read Faust 1 and 2, and there's a line in there, Mephistopheles. So Goethe is trying to characterize Mephistopheles, who's the spirit of rationality, or the Luciferian spirit of the usurper. Mephistopheles' credo was repeated twice in Faust, once in Faust 1 and once in the second part. Everything that lives should be eradicated because of its insufficiency. Now, I'm paraphrasing, and I'm paraphrasing badly, but the basic idea is that the suffering that's attendant on consciousness is indicative of a flaw in the world so profound that the best possible solution is the eradication of everything.
Wow.
Right? That's Marx's favorite quote.
Wow.
Right.
That's very interesting. I did not know that.
Yes, it's extremely interesting because that's only one sentence in each of those plays, but it's Mephistopheles' revelation of his motivation. It's like all that suffers should die so that suffering itself will cease. And the antinatalist types, for example, they believe exactly that, right? So this is something, it's very interesting here because we're also verging on a definition of faith. So in Job, like Job makes a decision, and the decision is the act of faith. It's not belief in some idiot superstition. Job says, okay, I got two pathways here. I can act as if the world in its essence is good. I am, and so is the spirit of being. Or I can forego that and do what my wife suggests, which is curse God and die.
Yes, right.
Right. And all the evidence at hand suggests that cursing God and dying is the right, is the rational conclusion. And Job says, I refuse to forswear my faith. Right. And so, and I see that partly as a prodroma to the Passion story, which is an extension of what Job suffers and concludes. But the axiomatic presumption, well, maybe there's three, right? The spirit that underlies being is to be regarded as good. The essence of man, despite his flaws, if he's aiming up, is to be regarded as good. And the answer that you seek is dependent on the aim. Right, because that brings the morality of the investigator into the picture. And so this is part of the reason, for example, why scientists need and engineers, maybe even more, to solve the problem of alignment, let's say. They need a classical education that's grounded in a deep... Okay, so you've already come to that conclusion.